We have all heard the famous line, "Nice guys finish last." We may have heard it on our sports teams, when hanging out with friends, or even at school. I suspect it will be told to us again and again. When we hear it, we all automatically wonder what it means. And to most of us, we would interpret it as being successful in the world requires some sense of ruthlessness, maybe even dishonesty. Look after yourself and don't worry about others. Is this true? Are all nice people, guys and girls, destined to finish last? Could being kind and decent really only get you some new friends, a smile from the teacher in a hallway, and a ton of service hours? I've spent a long time thinking about this, and it consumes my mind regularly. I'm in no way perfect, and sometimes I get caught in self-interest, but as I move forward, I do see the value of being kind. People, primarily my parents, warn me about being too nice. They say that one day I will be taken advantage of, that people can walk all over me because they know I won't fight back. That could be true. Maybe some of you in here have already figured that out and have been doing so for years. Despite this, I still don't believe it. The empirical data just doesn't support it. Since coming to Appleby, I've studied this very closely. I have watched, I have listened, and I have read. I've come to only one undisputable conclusion. The key to success is built on kindness. Let's go back 6 years ago, my first week of grade 7. I was so nervous. I didn't know if Appleby was the place for me, and I was still reminiscing about leaving my old school and classmates at St. Vincent's behind. The only thing I found comfort in was my friends that came with me, my cousin Lauren and friends Will and Andy. Although like me, they were also shy and nervous to move. To be honest, I thought I would never survive here. At this time, I didn't have any of my amazing best friends to lean on. I hadn't yet discovered my passion for field hockey. Then, there were clubs. There was Model United Nations, Round Square, Middle School Council, and so many others. It was so daunting, considering that the only club I had ever participated in was, believe it or not, cup stacking. And don't forget all those high school teachers whom I didn't know yet. I was scared of my new English teacher, Miss Kirkpatrick, and if any one of you know her, you know I couldn't have been more wrong. Miss Kirkpatrick is one of the kindest people ever. But then, there was the most frightening place of all, the dining hall. I got my food and proceeded to a dining hall table and sat alone. At this time, I didn't have an iPhone to pretend to look at, so I kept my head down and continued to ponder if this was the place for me. Then, a Senior 1 student pulled up a chair. She smiled and simply said, "Can I join you?" I was so relieved. She talked to me, kept me company, and told me about all the great things I would eventually learn to love about Appleby. It wasn't much to sit with me, but it made all the difference. At that moment, she made me feel like I belonged here, and I'm forever grateful for that. The point is that that girl did not have to sit with me. She wasn't doing it for service hours. She wasn't looking for a position, and I'm pretty sure it's not listed on her resume. She was doing it because she was kind, because she saw a small 4'9" girl sitting there, alone, and knew that I needed someone. I'm not sure about many things, but I am very sure about this. Whatever she was doing that day, it was definitely not finishing last. She had made an impact on someone who would never forget her action. Now, let's go 3 years before that, grade 4. That year, my parents received an email from my school that would forever change me. It essentially said that I was part of a group that excluded another classmate. I can't remember exactly what it said, but it definitely did not say I was being inclusive. The teacher labeled me as a mean girl. I've never seen my parents so mad at me. They never thought that their innocent fourth grader could be capable of creating a negative environment at school. Their questioning and discussion proved their anger toward the whole situation. I knew my parents and teacher were mad at me, and yes, that hurt a lot, although it wasn't the worst part. It was the disappointment I had about myself and the fact that a person felt belittled due to my actions. My lack of kindness had caused harm, and I would never forgive myself for that. I still feel guilty. Till this day, I've never finished so far last. That was due to my lack of kindness. At the time, I was equivalent to the cruel executives that Cornell University looked at in a study. It explored the leadership styles of 72 senior executives across 31 venture capital companies. The researchers found that the harsh, hard-driving, results-at-all-cost executives eventually diminished the bottom line. Meanwhile, the self-aware leaders with strong interpersonal skills delivered a far better financial performance. These good leaders did not finish last, as they increased the bottom line in their competitive world of business. They promoted success in their companies. They made others finish first with them. In San Francisco, the Make-A-Wish Foundation wanted to enact a wish for Miles, a little boy battling cancer. They asked for 100 volunteers. What they got were thousands of volunteers, including city officials, businesses, and supporters. They transformed San Francisco into Gotham City, the home of Batman. It was all set up so that Miles could be Bat-Kid for a day and capture some bad guys. The San Francisco Chronicle had a front-page headline reading, "Bat-Kid saves Gotham." Yes, Miles's wish had come true, but that act of kindness went far beyond Miles. The news reached 1.7 billion people. The Make-A-Wish Foundation got so much traffic for donations that their website crashed. That would have never have happened if it wasn't for those people who took a few hours out of their day to show up and cheer on a little boy dressed in a bat suit marching down the middle of the city. Those people went out of their way, from the kindness of their hearts, to make one small kid happy for a day. I think we can all agree that the volunteers who showed up that day and cheered Miles on did not finish last, nor did the foundation they supported. As much as we all would want, I'm not asking you to transform Appleby into Krypton so you can all wear your Superman costumes and march through the campus. I'm looking for us to execute much smaller acts of kindness, such as holding the door open for others, helping someone who spills their food in the dining hall, or maybe even forgiving someone who does wrong. Which brings me to my next point about how people could possibly finish first when they are in an environment which denounces and disapproves them through the control of not-so-nice people. Imagine this. You are put into a prison cell no bigger than the size of a bathroom. You are beaten and humiliated regularly by your guards. Why? Because you demanded that all people be treated equally and that everyone be given the right to vote. Then, I want you to imagine that that cell door is open. You are set free, but only after 27 years. You do not see your children grow, your body is broken, old, and a third of your life is stolen. And in an odd twist of fate, you are now named president. You immediately rule over all the people who kept you locked up. You all already know who I'm talking about, Nelson Mandela. But did you know that Nelson Mandela invited his former jail guards to dinner? In fact, he went out for lunch with the prosecutor who demanded he be put to death. An act of forgiveness, but more importantly, an act of kindness when it was hard to give. People wondered how he could do such a thing. They thought he was a fool, that he was being taken advantage of, that people were walking all over him. After that, Nelson Mandela was granted 250 worldwide honors. He is the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, the Congressional Gold Medal, the United Nations Prize in the field of human rights, and many others. Along with his many awards, he possessed a simple trait: genuine kindness, one contributing factor which ultimately led him to breaking world boundaries and expectations. I think we can all agree Nelson Mandela did not finish last. US President Roosevelt said this best in a speech when he stated, "Human kindness has never weakened the stamina or softened the fiber of a free people. A nation does not have to be cruel to be tough." So what about our great school? How do we as Appleby students capitalize on our kindness and use it to propel us forward? As a community, we did this last year when we sponsored a Syrian refugee family. All of us took part as we tried to help get supplies and necessities to them through various initiatives. We all gave and showed support to a cause that might have seemed so distant, but due to the kindness in our hearts, we all helped. Helping others in large-scale programs like our daily service co-curriculars and international service trips are just one component. Over the years, I have seen countless acts of kindness here by my fellow students, my lifelong friends, and our wonderful teachers. They happen every day in these walls, and they spill over into Kerr Street Ministries, the agency supported by the annual walkathon, and small gardens in Cambodia, and playgrounds in Costa Rica, to only name a few. I see small-scale acts of kindness too, like when Johanna walked at the back of the walkathon to help motivate the middle schoolers to keep going. She could have finished much earlier and walked with her friends, but instead she walked at the back to help give them a boost to finish. I see it when my field hockey teammates lend me their extra shin guards, socks, and mouth guards, even though it's disgusting, because we all know I am super forgetful and didn't bring mine. I see it when my sister covers for me when I come home too late and parents are mad. You always got my back, Meredith. And lastly, as we all know too well, we see kindness at the do when I'm 25 cents short of a $4 chocolate bar, and Oki says, "It's okay, pay me back another time." That's an act of kindness, I think. But in all seriousness, it has taken me 6 years to reflect and find the true benefits of Appleby. If I had known it before, I would have done many things differently and put a greater effort to do the simple things like saying hi to others in the hallway. Upper schoolers, don't wait until your senior 2 year to put yourself out there, to be inclusive, and to care for one another. Otherwise, you'd be wasting your time and you'd miss out on a golden opportunity. I truly mean that. Today, I stand before you among some of the nicest, kindest, and most considerate people I have ever known. And I am so grateful for that. So, there is only one conclusion I can draw. We shall never finish last. Thank you, and please join me in singing hymn number 575.